Chapter 361, Rising Blood Mist. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. Jiang Yuochen attacked him again without saying anything. 9 folds of elephant power. The shadow of the martial soul seemed almost integrated with Jiang Yuochen's body. The heaven and earth spiritual chi converged in his palm, exploding out with a 9-fold attacking force. The 9 chi billows, like 9 water waves, gathered in front of Jiang Yuochen's palm and formed a 6-meter-long illusory image of a holy elephant. Howl. As the power of the handprint was cast, the howl of a savage beast sounded, which shook the underground secret room and made pieces of broken stone fall from it. Hu Qinai had to take this seriously. He spread his legs, bent his knees slightly, and did a horse stance. Then he suddenly punched out with a fist technique. Unfortunately, he still underestimated the Jiang Yuochen's current strength. The illusory image of the holy elephant crashed against his body like a hill. He had just exchanged blows with him when he was once again sent flying backward. The spiritual blood in his body roiled and the genuine chi in his meridians was in chaos. He is that strong? Actually, Hu Qinai was very powerful. A man who has entered into the fish-dragon realm could not be weak. However, his broken arm reduced his fighting strength. Previously, he was seriously injured by Jiang Yuochen's sneak attack and so his fighting strength was greatly reduced. His current power was only 30% of the power at his zenith. Swoosh. Jiang Yuochen continued to strike out. He swung his sword to chop off Hu Qinai's head. Jiang Yuochen, do you think that only you have martial soul? Being beaten by a junior in the heaven realm, Hu Qinai was so furious that he released his martial soul. He had been proud, so he had not used the power of his martial soul. But the situation here was different. If he did not use the power of martial soul, never mind trying to suppress Jiang Yuochen, he would be suppressed by Jiang Yuochen instead. Swoosh. A light column rushed out of Hu Qinai's head. Drops of light spots condensed into a martial soul which hung suspended above Hu Qinai's back. Hu Qinai released his martial soul and his power was completely broke out. Bam. After a reckless clash, both of them took steps back. Crash. Broken stones continually fell from above. The secret room seemed to be falling apart due to the fighting between the two men. Jiang Yuochen, you are very powerful but you are still far below a warrior in the fish-dragon realm. Heaven combing fist. The bones in Hu Qinai's arms kept ringing. He punched a fist technique that was in the superior class spiritual stage. The blessing of martial soul doubled Hu Qinai's power. The whole underground secret room seemed to be filled with his strength after he punched out a fist technique. Genuine chi was not only flowing in his meridians but also pouring out his body. It turned into a river of genuine chi, flowing around the martial soul. Heaven combing fist had a total of 27 strokes. What Hu Qinai used was the first move, Hammer of Breaking Heaven. As his fists struck out, the heaven and earth spiritual chi that was mobilized by martial soul almost all converged in his arm, turning his fist blue. These fists suddenly attacked toward Jiang Yuochen's chest. Is this the real power of warrior in the fish-dragon realm? Jiang Yuochen felt that if he met Hu Qinai head-on, he would be seriously injured by Hu Qinai's punch or even worse. When all was said and done, Jiang Yuochen was only in the mid-stage of the heaven realm. It was only by his seemingly strange power of martial soul that he could fight with Hu Qinai. Now that Hu Qinai had also burst forth his power of martial soul, the situation immediately reversed, which was quite unfavorable to Jiang Yuochen. Space crack. Jiang Yuochen raised his arms and moved his hands apart. It seemed like a gate of space was opened in front of him. It was a breach in the space where fog gathered. The power from it seemed like it could devour the world. In just a moment, the space crack swallowed up the power of the fist technique that Hu Qinai displayed. Jiang Yuochen wanted to try harder to eliminate Hu Qinai by space crack. He pushed his hands forward. Under the urging of his power, the space crack cut toward Hu Qinai. Previously, Hu Qinai nearly had been beaten by the space crack. So this time, he was more cautious. In just a moment, his body moved and he escaped its attack. PHHT. Space crack struck the stone wall behind Hu Qinai and engulfed a large amount of mud. It left behind a pit which was more than 10 meters long. After seeing the destructive power of the space crack, Hu Qinai was shocked and said, Jiang Yuochen, what the martial technique did you use? Why can you tear open space? If you can defeat me, naturally, you will know the answer. Zhang Yuochen said. Hu Qinai gave him a black look and replied, do you think that I can't defeat you? Hu Qinai fumbled in his clothes and took out a little delicate purple gold bell. The small bell, which was only about 10 centimeters, was engraved with mysterious inscriptions. It gave off a faint icy air. Zhang Rukan felt that things were not good after seeing the small bell. As Hu Qinai infused his genuine qi into the bell, it became activated. The little bell gradually became larger, growing from its original 10 centimeters gradually to a full 3 meters and became an ancient giant bell. Swish! A purple gold light emitted from the ancient bell, forming a bizarre force that suppressed Zhang Yuochen's martial soul. Hu Qinai placed the huge bell in his palm and said with a smile, Zhang Yuochen, the ancient bell is a 10th level genuine martial arms. It is called the beating soul bell. Since your martial soul is strong, let's see if you can withstand the attack of the beating soul bell. Hu Qinai picked up the bell and attacked Zhang Yuochen while he was talking. The beating soul bell kept spinning and produced a buzzing sound. Then it struck against Zhang Yuochen's martial soul. Zhang Yuochen did not fight head-on with Hu Qinai. He made some bodily movements and turned to flee. Zhang Yuochen's biggest advantage was his martial soul. If he lost it, there was no way for him to contend against Hu Qinai. The bell was specifically used to deal with martial soul. If Zhang Yuochen continued to fight against Hu Qinai, he would definitely be at a great disadvantage. Swoosh! After rushing out of the secret room, Zhang Yuochen returned to the ground and demonstrated the bodily movement for the shadow of the royal wind dragon to the extreme. He ran away and each of his steps spanned over 67 meters. After breaking into the heaven realm, the shadow of the royal wind dragon became faster. After all, it was a martial technique of bodily movement that was in the superior class spiritual stage. Only a warrior in the heaven realm could exert its true power. Zhang Yuochen, at the moment, was like walking in the air with his feet above the ground. Of course, he was not flying off the ground. What he used was the agility of the bodily movement, by which he could shortly run in void space with the help of the wind. Only by being a half-saint could a man fly in the sky without any external forces. Zhang Yuochen was far from that realm. At Zhang Yuochen's heels, Hu Qinai rushed out from the underground. Without any hesitation, he tossed out the beating soul bell to attack Zhang Yuochen. Zhang Yuochen did not turn around. He just threw the Abyss Ancient Sword to meet the attack of the beating soul bell. Pow! The strike between the Abyss Ancient Sword and the bell caused a large spark. The Abyss Ancient Sword flew back to Zhang Yuochen's hand. Damn! Hu Qinai took back the bell. He also displayed a bodily movement to catch up with Zhang Yuochen. What he displayed was called Floating Cloud Step, a martial technique of bodily movement of the mid-class spiritual stage. Although his bodily movement was not as brilliant as Shadow of the Royal Wind Dragon, he was a master in the Fish Dragon realm who possessed superior speed. Hu Qinai charged out. His speed was faster than Zhang Yuochen's. Zhang Yuochen turned around. He saw that Hu Qinai was chasing after him just 333 meters away and the distance was narrowing. About a quarter of an hour later, the distance between Hu Qinai and Zhang Yuochen was about 33 meters. He once again threw the beating soul bell out to hit Zhang Yuochen's back. Zhang Yuochen had to stop and fight again with Hu Qinai. 10,000 feet prairie fire. Zhang Yuochen stimulated a vision of heaven and earth. In the surrounding area, a blaze of flames was condensed. All of them turned into a vast sea of fire and encircled Hu Qinai. In the sea of fire, the two men exchanged more than 10 strokes before Zhang Yuochen fled again. In this way, as Zhang Yuochen escaped, he fought, all the way from noon until dark. Along the thousands of kilometers, he battled Hu Qinai 13 times. In the end, Zhang Yuochen's martial soul was hit by the beating soul bell and was badly hurt so that he had to take back his martial soul. If it were hit again by the bell, it would certainly suffer severe damage. The consequence did not bear thinking of. Zhang Yuochen, now that you have lost the power of your martial soul, you can't escape from me this time. Ha ha. Hu Qinai followed after him. His chest was bleeding, but he seemed to feel nothing. He stared at Zhang Yuochen fiercely and said, if you still refuse to tell me the location of the ancient cave, I will let you know the top 10 cruel tortures of the black market. I'll see if you can withstand them. Hu Qinai was seriously injured. In order to chase Zhang Yuochen, he had not stopped to heal. Now, his injuries were aggravating, but he didn't notice himself. The only thing he wanted was the location of the ancient cave. With blood on his mouth, Zhang Yuochen gave a long laugh and said, Hu Qinai, if you don't heal your wound, I'm afraid that your cultivation will get regress. Although his martial soul was hurt, Zhang Yuochen was still full of energy and the war intent. As long as I can suppress you, the lost cultivation will not be a matter. Hu Qinai replied, you want to suppress me in your current state. What? You are not convinced and want to fight again? Hu Qinai knew very clearly about Zhang Yuochen's current state. Zhang Yuochen, who had lost his power of the martial soul, was like an ant. Even the power of a finger could easily kill him. Phff. A gust of cold wind carrying the smell of blood blew over from far away and passed over Zhang Yuochen's and Hu Qinai's bodies. Something strange happened. A bloody red fog appeared in the wood not far away from them, and the fog was coming from all directions. The blood fog became more and more dense, even blocking people's sight. Both Zhang Yuochen and Hu Qinai were shocked by the sudden change. They stopped fighting and warily watched the blood fog around them without moving.